Yo, guys, what's up? Wearing a Carolina Panthers shirt tonight, and I guess it's appropriate. I got this shirt when I was in Charlotte. I guess it's appropriate tonight to talk about Joe Brady from the Carolina Panthers. Man, oh man, it's been quite a whirlwind for Joe Brady. The highs of winning a national championship with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. To then going to the NFL with Matt Rule, kind of trying to make it work with Teddy Bridgewater, then getting Sam Darnold. And for Joe Brady, I mean, he never has really had a quarterback that's that dynamic at the NFL level. Teddy Bridgewater, you see that Bridgewater's a journeyman, kind of trending on backup quarterback. And then you see Sam Darnold's also a backup. Now, you absolutely could argue that Joe Brady could have helped out in the cases of these guys. But in fairness, Matt Rule wants to play a certain style defense, and I guess you can make all the excuses because he hasn't had the quarterback. It's about the players, right? But the guy is young. I think Joe Brady's still in his younger 30s. I'm going to actually look up how old Joe Brady is. I bet he's only 33 years old. In fact, he's just turned 32 years old. So, I mean, this guy is going to be an absolute stud. I still have confidence in Joe Brady. He's just getting his feet wet, and he was under Sean Payton. He has experience with James Franklin and Joe Moorhead, so he knows the up-tempo offense. But really in the NFL, it's very tough. To be an offensive coordinator, you almost have to be like Kyle Shanahan. You have to be almost a West Coast guy because the quick up-tempo stuff in the NFL that Chip Kelly tries to do, defense is kind of tuned into that. And, I mean, Kellen Moore's a really good offensive coordinator. He's one of the best. But he kind of had like a little bit of Garrett and McCarthy as his mentors, kind of. And, I mean, then you look at Sean McVay, who then is all around the NFL, not really around college offenses. And Joe Brady kind of runs up-tempo stuff. He ran it at LSU. He did learn pro game stuff from Sean Payton, so he does have that. I think that Joe Brady has to go back to the basics. I think that the next step for Joe Brady could be helping out Sean Payton, could be going back to the Saints, except I don't think that that's actually going to happen. He could even go out and be an assistant at UCLA or in Oregon, or in Oklahoma. I also think that there's a good chance that Nick Saban is going to be very interested in Joe Brady. Maybe Joe Brady can learn defenses, can learn a little bit about Bill O'Brien, can help out Bryce Young. If you're on the staff, if you're a co-offensive coordinator there, it's going to be very exciting. In fact, if Jeff Lebby ends up going to Oklahoma, then Joe Brady's going to end up going with Lane Kiffin to Ole Miss, and that's going to create just an absolutely awesome atmosphere. I really believe that Ole Miss is an awesome destination because Lane Kiffin is still a brilliant offensive mind. And man, oh man, I mean, you could get any transfer quarterback in the country. It's a shame that I believe that Spencer Rattler said that he was going to all the way out there to UCLA. I mean, because Quinn Ewers right now, I mean, Joe Brady, I mean, you look at Nebraska, I mean, could Trev Alberts, do you want to work alongside Scott Frost in Nebraska? I mean, could you imagine if Joe Brady went to Nebraska? That would be a dream come true. That would be an absolute dream come true to have Joe Brady at Nebraska. I mean, if I'm the booster at Nebraska, I pay Frost $7 million and I pay Joe Brady $7 million, and they're co-head coaches. I mean, in fact, wow, I just thought of this, is that Mickey Joseph is actually going to Nebraska with Scott Frost, who worked alongside Joe Brady. Imagine if Trev and Scott Frost knew this was coming. Could you imagine the excitement of Nebraska football if they end up getting Joe Brady. And then you could take a shot at any quarterback. Then Brock Purdy's brother's going to come on. Then you could try to recruit a 2023 quarterback, like even an Arch Manning or anybody you're thinking of. If you have Joe Brady behind you, it could save the Nebraska football program. But I also look at Ole Miss as a huge possibility, because Jeff Lebby could end up going to Oklahoma. Or Brent Venables is going to make him the OC at Oklahoma. Or you look at Oregon. Is he even going to be a head coach straight out of the chute right at Oregon? Oregon had Joe Moorhead, so Mario Cristobal is very familiar with Joe Moorhead and with that style, and I'm sure that Moorhead and Joe Brady still have connections. It either could be Oregon or Miami, so he has a ton of options. I'm not worried about Joe Brady. The New York Giants absolutely need an offensive coordinator. His stock is down, though. If he would have had a great, if he would have had a great season, then Joe Brady would end up, being an NFL coach. And I think that college is easier because in the NFL, just like Joe Judge is experiencing right now, if you have the wrong quarterback, you're done. They got Darnold, Bridgewater, and then Cam Newton is not really in game shape. So, and in fairness to Brady, he didn't succeed. I don't know if I would have been on board with bringing in Sam Darnold. And Brady, too, in the NFL, it might have been overwhelming for him. But listen, what guys are never gonna experience adversity in their careers, And I'm really excited for this guy. He's 32. He's young. He still learned under Sean Payton. The doubters will all say it's all because of Joe Burrow, but this guy has unbelievable opportunities. I think he could get back to the basics. I think he was hand-tied with a terrible, quarterback and offense there. And now, if he goes to Oklahoma, he'll have autonomy. I don't know if he's going to work with Lane Kiffin. I think Frost is a guy that he could really work with, and Trev Alberts. And it depends. Joe Brady, I think college football is awesome. I'm a college football guy. So, I know he wanted to try out the NFL. He probably learned so much in the NFL. It's interesting. I think Ole Miss, if you really want to be a head coach, you go to Ole Miss. And you continue there with Lane Kiffin. You also could look at Alabama and Bryce Young and be on the staff there. You look at Coach O. Where's Coach O going to end up? Is Coach O really tight with Joe Brady? I'm sure that relationship might not be the best anymore. Brian Kelly could have Joe Brady right back at LSU, but I don't think that Joe Brady wants to trek all the way back to LSU. You look at Gaddis. Gaddis is still there. If Gaddis leaves, Joe Brady could end up going to Michigan. It depends what Duke is going to do with Cutcliffe. There's so many possibilities for where Joe Brady's going to end up going, but luckily for him, being that champion at LSU, I'm not really worried about it. And again, he was stuck with bad quarterback play. He's going to learn and grow and be better. That's what you do in life. You learn, grow, be better. That's the three tenements, pinnacles of life. Grow, be better. Each experience, adversity, if it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. You learn from your mistakes. You learn and you try to be better and you move on and you try to salvage what's there and you keep staying in the fight. It's just like Survivor, or it's just like the NCAA tournament. You win a game by 2 points, you survive in advance, you win ugly, and guess what? Winning ugly turns into winning pretty. So for Joe Brady, he was winning pretty. He was there with Joe Burrow. He hit the lottery there. He got a nice payday from the Carolina Panthers. He was a little bit young, a little bit wet behind the ears. He went in with a college staff, didn't really have an NFL mentor to really help him with offense immediately. He was given a ton of responsibility. And in fairness to Joe Brady, the great thing about football, it's a blessing and a curse, but I think it's a blessing, is that the game of football is objective. All right? It's you either win or you lose in the game. There's none of this, oh, I think it was there, or, oh, we got cheated out of that, or, oh, that test wasn't really real, Or, oh, there's this bias and I took that exam and my teacher hates me and gave me a horrible grade and it was bad luck. Or I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure if I got, if somebody got one over on me. The NFL's right there. I love that, hey, you're either getting it done or you're not getting it done, and it's black and white objective results. There's no gray area, and he didn't get it done. And guess what? His life could be a lot worse. He could either be a disgraced coach. He could be a coach that's no good and nobody wants to hire him anymore. There's a lot of guys like that in the NFL and college football. He could fail badly at the job. The worst thing you could probably do as a coach is be in a controversy, be very tough for people to align themselves with your reputation. But Joe Brady's going to be fine. It's a mutual parting. It's interesting timing by Carolina. It also helps Joe Brady right now with college football, which is what I think he wants to do. But Matt Rule wanted to move on, which is fine. Because Matt Rule's going to have to get a coordinator for the future. He might look for an experienced coordinator. And we got to see how much this ownership and Matt Rule want to keep doing this thing. Because right now it hasn't been good. It's been tough. They haven't really found their quarterback. Their defense is kind of coming alive. But again, being in the NFL, it's not as fun in college. In college, you can recruit your own players. Now you can recruit free agents in college football. Your roster building is just so much more substantial. You get to recruit your style kid. You have more control. In the NFL, you don't really have control. It's great for game planning. It's the mecca of game planning. It's great for attention. People are you're going to be challenged mentally with the schemes of the contest, still keeping a team together. But in terms of real freedom, college football and the offenses that you can run in college are even more expansive than the playbooks that you can run at the NFL with a limited sample of starting level talent. And very interesting today about Joe Brady. I mean, his career's been fascinating. A guy that could, people wanted as a head coach, and I really haven't wavered that much on Joe Brady. I mean, he hasn't been that great, but again, I want to see him with another elite quarterback, and I think that college is probably going to be his calling for now. I'm sure that he's going to get that itch, unfortunately, to go back to the NFL, kind of, and we'll see. I mean, Joe Brady doesn't talk that much, so I don't know Joe Brady. I wish I did. Because then I would have more insight on what Joe Brady's going to do. And also, those conversations would probably remain private between us. They would remain private, but I'm pretty fascinated. He's a fascinating character. He's this guy that, was up there with Steve Ensminger, and he's always kind of behind the scenes up there in the box scheming things open. And he was brilliant at LSU. And I know that Joe Burrow is a brilliant, brilliant quarterback, and I know that he had Jefferson and Chase and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in one of the greatest offenses ever, but he did take that offense and make it into a Sean Payton explosive offense. He took an LSU offense and made it more interesting and made it really, he was the architect because Steve Ensminger was there a long time. Joe Brady brought those ideas from the Saints. But unfortunately, with NFL defensive coordinators like Dean Pease and Todd Bowles that you're playing every single week, you're not going to be able to do the same kind of things. And in fact, even Dennis Allen knows all about Sean Payton. I mean, when you played the Saints. So that's Joe Brady. I mean, this is a saga that's going to keep going on. And I'm here for it, man. So good luck, Joe. Again, I think he can bounce back from it. I don't think it's that big of adversity. Young guy, going to coach a long time, and so many exciting options for Joe Brady.